the honor of meeting Pope Leo in his previous life. How did he strike you as an individual?
Thanks very much. Look, he struck me as very normal, warmly human, a man who was simply just one to sit next to and have a chat with, and that impressed me deeply.
What does it say, do you think, that the cardinals chose someone who was very close to Pope Francis, someone who'd only been appointed a cardinal as recently as 2023?
Yes, it says to me that in the group within the cardinals themselves, they've obviously spent a fair bit of time over these last days since the death of Pope Francis, getting to know each other a little more, speaking to each other, looking to the interests and the well-being of the church and our relationship with the world. I don't feel at all surprised that they've chosen somebody who has walked with Pope Francis, somebody who has not only ministered in the Americas, but somebody who's worked as a collaborator in the Curia in Rome with Pope Francis. I think there's a wonderful synergy there. And yet at the same time, I think that Pope Leo will bring his own gifts, his own charisms, his own thoughts, his own hopes and aspirations for the well-being of the church and, of course, the whole world.
And the fact that he was chosen by Pope Francis, does that suggest he will bring with him his more progressive attitude than perhaps some within the church want to see in a pope?
Look, I don't worry too much about who chose a particular cardinal. All cardinals are chosen by popes for various reasons, for particular circumstances in certain contexts and cultures and times and needs as well. I think Pope Francis chose many cardinals from a variety of cultures and places and situations around the world. And Pope Leo, as a cardinal, was also chosen under the same circumstances. He will be his own man. He is the successor of St. Peter, not necessarily the successor of his immediate predecessor.
So as we look ahead to the papacy of Leo XIV, I wonder, do you think, is there a risk of overstating the power of the office? Because Pope Francis was at odds with many conservative figures within the church. Perhaps he didn't actually get to do everything that he would have wanted.
I think if you look carefully at Pope Francis' pontificate, he was probably at times at odds with people on both ends of the political spectrum. But what he constantly did was call people to the middle ground, to move forward together in unity, in harmony, in friendship, in compassion. I think he achieved that. And how we continue to take up that challenge will be on us, not necessarily on Pope Leo. But I think, if we risk putting the power of the papacy as something of an office or a structure or an institution, we lose the richness that the Roman Pontiff has in accompanying us, in walking with us, in guiding us as a good shepherd. And that's particularly what his role is about at the moment, helping us bishops to be able to care for and walk with and listen to our flocks, the people that are entrusted to our care.
And what about the power of the papacy on the political or geopolitical stage? I mean, we heard Pope Leo beginning his papacy with a message calling for peace, continuing the message of Pope Francis. But of course, if you look around us in the world today, you might ask if anyone is really listening.
Yes, you've got a good point there. When you look outside, sometimes things look pretty bleak. But I think that if you listen to the words that Pope Leo said, peace be with you, they are the words of the risen Christ. He wasn't quoting anybody else other than Jesus Christ. And for Christians and all people of goodwill, peace is the cornerstone to building up communities, relationships between peoples and nations, searching for justice and truth. Peace is the cornerstone. And I think his call, while it was a very personal one, he was echoing the words of Jesus Christ. And that's what the shepherd does. That's what the Roman Pontiff does. He builds bridges based on peace.
So as he gets into the job, and of course it will probably come as a shock to him as much as anyone, because nobody's quite sure who's going to win when you head into the conclave. What would you like to see as being the uppermost thing in the papal in tray for him to do now that he's in the post?
Firstly, I think the first thing I'd like to see happen is that we don't use the language going into win. We would see it very much as being called. His is a divine call. It's something that is very, very particular to our faith. And I think I would like to see him continue as he already has, to announce the good news, to speak the words of Jesus Christ, because they're good words. It's good news, and it's the only good news good for everybody, no matter who you are. And I think he has a very sound track record as a bishop and a cardinal, and I can't see why he wouldn't continue that. I had a very nice word today from an Augustinian, one of the men who was from the religious community that the Holy Father belonged to. And he said that he thought that he, as an Augustinian, as a prior, as one who looked after them, he loved them and he cared for them, and he can see them doing exactly the same thing for us in the church and for the world. That's my hope.
Okay. Anthony Randazzo, Bishop of Broken Bay in Sydney, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us today on the election of Pope Leo XIV. And there'll be plenty more coverage